With all we go through as African Americans in the United States, are y'all guys fed up? Have you hit the end of your rope? Do you want to go home? Meaning, do you want to return to the continent? Do you want to return to Africa? Stay tuned. Hello, and thanks for joining the Walk Weekly. All right, and we'd like to thank all of you guys for your support. My name is Walter Latham, and today's topic has to do with returning back to Africa. Okay, going back to the continent. All right, so over the last couple of years, and this is pre-pandemic, I've heard of African Americans returning to the continent. And the underlying reasons given was to escape the racism and live in a country that they could feel safe and happy in. All right, they could pursue, peace and make money without someone calling them the N word. But anyway, one of the key drivers would be that African American would be part of the majority. Now, can you imagine not being called the N word? There are no Karens, no fear of being pulled over, DWB, driving while black, going out when everybody looks like you. Can you just imagine that?
Can't imagine that, yeah.
Yeah. So the Ghanaian government a couple of years ago implemented what they call Year of the Return. All right, and this is an offer to African Americans to come over and they could become citizens. All right, they set aside land, housing, and they wanted to bring people over with skills and talent and people that wanted to invest. So based on this perceived utopia, I would be tempted myself. Okay, and
Yes.
a lot of people were, like 5,000 people did go so far and counting. All right, but I think the COVID pandemic interrupted that flow. But some people say, yeah, I'm done. Doggone right, I'm going to go. So based on this perceived utopia, we should be jumping on a plane, boat, or whatever we can find to get over there.
Right.
And as I said, thousands of people have taken this offer. But have we thought about what we would be doing? The honest truth to me is they're giving up what our ancestors toiled and died for.
Hmm.
We fought in every war this country's ever had. All right. We built this country, through agriculture, through a system that they had in place for 400 years. And 40 acres and a mule, which is still due to us. We didn't get that yet, but I guess somewhere down the road we will get it.
Hopefully in our
Maybe in the
lifetime.
next life. What do you say?
Hopefully in our lifetime.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe in the next lifetime. That's what I was going to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
But we have given our lives. All right. And I don't think that's something that we should entertain. All right. Because we will be giving up our birthright. I could see if we were going back to a country in Africa, take for instance Ghana, and we could go to the village that we have ancestors at. We could trace our roots back to a certain village or group of a group of people. Oh, that's my great Uncle John,
Right.
right? Where in Italians, they could go back to the village that they were born in and probably named after.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was taken away from us. All right,
Yep.
but there
Definitely.
are opportunities. All right, there are pros and cons. As more people come on, and I'm looking for more people to come on our panel, and they should be in shortly. But they're going to have their viewpoints. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep it moving because I spent the majority of the '80s in West Africa, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, and I was a trader. I shipped in foodstuffs in exchange for gold. So I would ship in, let's say, a container of tomato paste. All right. I would sell the tomato paste. I had a buyer. I would take the local currency and I would go up into the bush. You always go to the source. And I would sit in the bush, stay in the bush for 3, 4 months until they could accumulate enough gold that I could repatriate back to this country.
Right.
All right. So I am not saying that there are no opportunities in Africa. I mean, that Africa has the most untapped resources, the continent of Africa has the most untapped resources in the world. I'm talking about diamonds, gold, bauxite, you name it, they have it.
Right.
It's there. So there are opportunities for us to go there, just like the Chinese are going there. We can go there independently, but we have to decide on what we want to exploit. I don't think it should be and I'm not telling the people what to do, but what I'm saying is we should do like the Indians do. People from India, they come to this country, they make their money and technology or whatever, and then they go back home. Or they keep a house here and they keep a house home. And I think we should do that, like snowbirds. All right, but make our money there. There are opportunities in Africa. You don't have to give up your American citizenship. All right, and go there to stay. I mean, we need you here. We need more numbers.
Right. A lot of people have dual citizenship.
Yeah, you can have dual citizenship, but you don't give up your American passport. There was a time when the American passport was one of the most valuable documents in the world, just like the U.S. dollar. But we know who caused the problem with that now. You American, nobody gives a damn on a global stage.
Right.
When at one time you were revered and you were envied because you were American. Okay, but who changed that. Okay.
Mhm.
So what I'm saying is that there are pros and cons to making a move to Africa.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. So the points I want to make, and should we? And I think I've covered my reasons why we should do like whatever the opportunity is. And another thing too, before I forget, we have people that go to Europe, Rome, Paris. Why can't they also, and they spend money there? Why can't they also go to a country in Africa? They got beautiful places there, very reasonable. But I think that we have the condition that when we think of Africa, we think of the Tarzan movies or we think of National Geographic, which only showed the people that live in the bush.
Mm.
All right. I mean, you have a middle class in Africa that live well. They have homes, they have cars, they have jobs. They do not show that side of Africa. I haven't spent a number of years back and forth over there and staying there for months on end. I've seen the middle class. I've seen how people live. All right. But I have also seen what they show on National Geographic. And to see that, you have to go all the way up. Like it's just like being down in North Carolina and going way into the woods and one of those farm places somewhere, remote.
Right.
And that's what they show on National Geographic.
Mm.
All right. I know better. All right. But they don't show it. They perpetuate a myth about the people, the natives of Africa, of those countries. They perpetuate a myth. All right, there are two types of, there are multiple types of people, just like here. You have the haves and you have the have-nots. They don't portray America as Appalachia, the hillbillies, and that's all when you think of the United States, you think of the hillbillies. That myth is not out there. And they've done the same thing with Africa more than 100 years. That's the way Africa is portrayed. All right, so, my experience, in Western Africa, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, Nigeria, is that you have just like you have here. You have the haves and you have the have-nots. I tell you,
Mm.
I've gotten mad because now, I mean, I can look at my first memories of Africa was Tarzan.
Yeah, yes, everybody's, because that's what they showed you. That's what they
Yeah,
depicted in Hollywood. Yes,
yeah,
yes. Mm-hmm.
and he's got everything under control. He's the king of the jungle,
Right,
and not just a visitor on a visa. And how many people have gone to Africa? They're still not going because they
right.
have a misconception of what When I say Africa, I'm talking continent. But let's go to look at Ghana, beautiful
Mm-hmm.
country.
Yes,
Let's look at Sierra Leone, even though they had 10 years of civil war, beautiful
right.
country. I wanted to
Beautiful
retire there.
country.
I really wanted to retire there. The mountains, the ocean. I mean, just beautiful. Well, I think that's to me when I went, it
Mm-hmm.
was a byproduct of being attached to Sierra Leone,
Mm-hmm.
through being married, and I saw an opportunity. I had reached a point in my career, in my financial services career, that I just couldn't take it anymore. And this is the early '80s, wherein I saw how we were being treated. I
Right,
saw the truth. The truth slapped me in the face, even though I knew it was there, but it slapped me in the face where, when it impacts you, then
right.
you really, really feel it, right?
Yeah,
So when I
of
was
course.
when I was skipped over, I just said, "Damn!" I,
Mm-hmm.
I accidentally came across an opportunity, and I created a company, and I used to trade.
Right,
Okay, and meaning, like I said earlier, I think I explained it to you.
right,
Foodstuffs for gold. All right. I
right.
used to go up in the bush and then sleep in the hut. No electricity
Mm.
now. No
Wow.
electricity.
Yeah, I wouldn't survive.
All right. And no bathroom. All
Yeah,
right. They had a
yeah.
community where you get holes in the ground.
Right,
Okay.
right.
And I went in, I wasn't going in there. I used to, as long as I had my toilet paper,
Mm.
I would find me a spot.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? And take baths in a river. I was in a village where the women took their baths at 3 and the
Mm-hmm.
men
Mm-hmm.
took their baths at 4. This is in the river.
Right, right.
All right. So you go down to the river at 4. All right. You got your, soap, you got your towel, you have your underwear. All right. A fresh set of underwear. And the underwear that you have on, you can jump in the river with that because you washed your underwear right in the river
Right,
while you were
right,
taking a bath.
right. So why do you think there's such uh, a big deal now to move back to Africa? I mean, back in the 20s when Marcus Garvey was advocating for it, there was a reason for it, you know,
Okay.
because we were still enslaved mentally, not physically, but there was a reason for people to want to go back to Africa back then. Now, why do you think people are feel such a strong urge to move to Africa now?
Well, I think that's
That's
hopelessness. That's
hmm
hopelessness. All right.
hmm
During Marcus Garvey's time, it was the same thing.
right.
But the way I see it is that we have too much invested. We are Americans. Anybody ask me, where are you from? I'm from North Carolina. Where are
From
your roots?
right,
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Yes,
Okay. It's not Africa. I
right,
just through DNA, I'm African American.
right.
But I am from the
Yes,
United States, America, US.
right, right.
And nobody can tell me different than that. I'm
That's right.
vested here.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, I can see the, college students when they go, some of them stay. One of my girlfriends, her daughter ended up meeting someone and getting married, having a child, but she was doing, how they do the religious and the medical um, fields where they go to help people, poor people, stuff like that. She ended up doing it and she ended up falling in love with the country, and she ended
Yeah.
up staying. But how often does that happen?
A
Not
lot
many
of
of
times,
us.
a lot of
Yeah.
times when people
Mm-hmm.
realize that,
Mm-hmm.
they've been fed a story for, instead
Mm-hmm.
of saying lie, I'm just saying a story about what you see on TV
Right.
and the media. and what they push out there. I'm not saying there's no problems in certain countries there,
Right. Right.
okay, but
I mean,
it's it's the most beautiful place. I mean, the weather. Okay, I'll give you an example. In Sierra Leone, where you got your blood diamonds, it's the second largest producer of diamonds after South Africa, Sierra Leone.
right.
All right, you got two seasons. You have the rainy season
Hmm.
and you have the dry season.
Right.
So that's the easiest place to be a weatherman. Because in the dry season, all you got to do is say, oh, it's going to be sunny today.
Right. Right.
And the same
And
applies to the rainy season.
yeah, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just awesome. I mean, and then you have the Atlantic Ocean, fortunately enough, where I was on the West Coast, so I was right there on the Atlantic Ocean. Sierra
Hmm.
Leone had some of the deepest ports in terms
Hmm.
of, ships coming in the world.
Right. Right.
Ideal. Okay. The water, blue. They have beaches that I tell you, Michelle, that rivals any in the world. And I've been to a lot. I've been on 5 continents, so I know.
Right.
Okay. So it's just amazing place. But the Civil War, as I said, I could, we can't retire there because one thing that they don't have, and this is, embarrassing, shameful. I don't know where to point the blame, but their medical facilities in some countries, not all.
Right.
And I'll pick Sierra Leone. You don't want to get sick over there.
Mm. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Most people that can afford it, when they get sick, they go to London or to go to
Right.
Brussels or something like that.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and
But
these are your cities. I mean, this is a result of years and years, decades of corruption.
right.
Okay, that's if you want to blame something, you can blame corruption. It's not they have the resources.
Hmm.
It's the misuse, and
Right.
now you got the Chinese over there.
Right. Yes, you do.
Why you think the Chinese are there? The
Uh,
Chinese, they know
right. They know it's
they
profitable
need
for them.
right. They need the
Hmm.
natural resources, so the Chinese are there. See, one thing
Right.
is different about the Chinese versus some of the practices that other governments used to put in place. And
Hmm.
when I say other governments, I'm talking about the Europeans and the U.S. or whatever.
Right.
All right. They used to give out an IMF and the World Bank. All right.
Hmm.
They used to fund projects over there. And those projects would be bridges, airports, etc.,
Right.
roads. All right. And they would just give the money to the government. It's like, okay, go build a road. All right. And
Right.
then the
Right.
government, instead of it allocating the money to where it's supposed to go, all
Right.
right, they will pocket it. That's why you had all these rich head of states and, they got millions and millions in Switzerland and stuff like that. But the Chinese changed the playbook.
Hmm.
All right, you heard recently about some airport, and I think it was in one of the African countries, where
Hmm.
they had built an airport, and since the country couldn't afford to meet its debt obligations, they were going to take the airport. This is the Chinese.
Right.
All right, you can't pay me. I funded this airport. I built this airport rather.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm going to take it.